The National Emergency Management Agency has provided some relief items to the Jigawa state government for distribution to victims of floods that have ravaged many communities in the state. And the items were handed over to the Deputy Governor. TVC News' Ibrahim Issa has more.
Heavy rains have led to flooding in many parts of Jigawa state, northwest Nigeria, rendering many residents homeless. Property worth millions were also lost to the floods. The federal government, through National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has visited the state and provided some relief items for distribution to the victims.
We had a management meeting and decided that we need to do something like a one-off to all states, because if we want to do it local government by local government, it will take us a very long time. So we had to use all our resources to make sure we have this big number to deliver to states. And besides what you see here, Mr. President has approved 12,000 metric tons of grains to be delivered to the vulnerable across the country.
Presenting the relief items to the state deputy governor, Umar Namadi, in Dusay, the Director General of NEMA, Mustafa Habib Ahmed, said the items included 15,650 bags of 10 kg bags of rice, 14,450 bags of 10 kg of beans, 12,550 kg bags of maize, 1,750 kegs of 20-liter vegetable oil, and 1,170 cartons of seasoning cubes, amongst others. Jigawa is among states worst hit in 2022 by the floods. The victims are hopeful that more humanitarian support would be accorded to them by the government and philanthropic people. Ibrahim Issa, TVC News, Jigawa.
Let's talk now about the growing concerns over climate change as floods hit several states here in Nigeria. We have joining us a board member of the Climate Strategies in the United Kingdom, Igwebuike Ijoma. It's good to have you join us. Thank you and welcome to TVC News. Talking about this ravaging floods hitting many states in Nigeria, what are your thoughts on how best to contain them?
Yes, thank you and good afternoon. What we currently see happening have been, we've been warned, years, decades back that this is what we'll be experiencing. But then what we are seeing is just mere knee-jerk reaction. The response really, we need to start responding to the risk and to the challenges that these disruptive and destructive impacts of climate change are throwing at us. So we need to move from reaction to respond. We need to move from reacting to responding to the issues. So, and in responding, we need to understudy what countries like the Netherlands that have been living with water for more than 1,000 years. We really need to understudy what they are doing and see how they are responding and how they're able to live well with water. And, so that institutional response is what is needed as against this knee-jerk approach and reacting to the issues. Next year, the same thing, in 2 years' time, the same thing. So we really need to especially focus on relocating the people at the floodplain. Then again, you ask if those states have done flood that will help them to understand and appreciate the areas where the likelihood of flooding it's really where they have more likelihood of flooding, so that they can relocate people from that area to other areas where you have less likelihood of flooding, and then use those other areas for other economic purposes that do not require human beings living in those areas.
But another concern here is, usually way before the start of the rainy season, warnings are issued by the federal agencies, and there does appear to be some form of gap between the federal and the state governments, coming down even to the lower cadres of governance. What are your thoughts in this regards on how we can, block these gaps?
Yes, I mean, when you release warnings, it's as if the government is transferring the responsibility on the citizens. And that's why you have this kind of response where you have knee-jerk reaction to these issues. The responsibility should not be transferred to the citizens. And if you look at it, these citizens are really not, they are vulnerable citizens who are on the lower ladder of the economic ladder, right? They are at the bottom of the pyramid, both economic pyramid and societal pyramid. So if you are asking them to live on their own, government must take initiative. We haven't made enough investment in this area, and it also requires a lot of synergy between the federal government, the state governments, and the local government to be able to deal with this issue in a sustainable manner. It's not enough to say, let's bring it to a personal level. Somebody comes to you and tells you that, okay, your family house, you need to leave. How easy is that for you? Even as with the level of exposure and education you have, it's not easy, And then you have these citizens who do not even understand what is going on. You just put up some kind of flood warning and say people should leave. It doesn't really work like that. We need to make investments in this area. We need to bring the state government and the local government on the table to sit down with the federal government to make adequate investments in relocating these communities. And honestly, this can be done. If we decide to today convene this, do flood risk mapping and analysis across the country, identify areas where we need to locate, make these investments in dealing with this issue on a sustainable basis. Again, part of what needs to happen is that these states like Jigawa and all of these states at the front lines of this flooding, we can help them go on the study what other countries that are living with water, how are they surviving? Then we really then come back and now use our own peculiarities to formulate policies and programs and initiatives that will help us manage this situation better than we are currently doing.
And the fact that Nigeria is also at risk of excess flood waters or dam waters coming in from neighboring countries like the Lagdo Dam in Cameroon. Where does that leave Nigeria that is already beleaguered somewhat by her own problems with flood?
Yeah, if we have not done the study, because that study will tell you where the centripetal and centrifugal forces, piling this pressure on the communities where they are coming from, where the risks are highest and where the risk and threat are lowest. Then if we do that, it will give us an idea of where the problem will be coming in internally and where also have some kind of holistic response to these issues. If we do not invest in these studies, then, because that's the foundation for the response that we are talking about.
All right. Igwebuike Ijoma, board member, climate strategies in the United Kingdom. We thank you very much for speaking with us on TVC News.
Thank you. Thank you.